Part 52. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanbao. Chapter 511. Mr. Ma and I paused and looked into the abyss. The entire space is not completely dark, there are unknown ores and rocks all around that emit a faint light. The depths of the abyss are pitch black, but a distance of 3 or 4 meters above the abyss is illuminated by minerals. Although the light is a bit dim, I can still see clearly. Swish swish. The noise in the abyss grew louder and louder. It was as if something was climbing along the cliff wall, giving the impression of countless small insects. At this moment, a black shadow emerged from the abyss. Look through the dim light. That turned out to be a black mouse. After the black rat came up, it ran towards the tunnel ahead without stopping. It was as if there was something in front of him that attracted him. I was slightly startled, and then the noise became louder and louder, and countless black shadows came out of the abyss. The dark area was like a black ocean squirming. These rats, like the first rat that came up, ran like crazy towards the depths of the cave. What are these rats doing? Mr. Ma asked doubtfully. I shook my head and replied, I don't know either. Before I could figure out what these rats were about, there was a rustling sound coming from the tunnel I came from before. I followed the sound, and the huge sound caused the space to tremble. I felt that the entire suspension bridge was shaking from side to side. Then, I saw countless wild beasts running towards us. The number of these beasts is extremely high, tens of thousands, densely packed and countless. Mr. Ma and I were stunned for a moment. Mr. Ma stammered, all spirits, worship. Seeing that these beasts were about to come in front of us, we quickly shouted to Mr. Ma, what are you doing standing still? Run. If you don't run, it's too late. Mr. Ma finally regained his composure and ran forward quickly. I followed closely behind, and before I had gone far, the entire suspension bridge began to shake violently. Without even thinking about it, I knew that those beasts were already on the bridge. This suspension bridge was already in disrepair and could not bear such a heavy weight. After a while, there was a click in my ear. I clearly saw the wooden piles of the suspension bridge fixed at both ends of the cliff snapping. I grabbed Mr. Ma's arm and used Nine Eyes' heavenly domain to teleport to the edge of the cliff. The beasts fell down in response. The beasts across from us not only did not stop when they lost the suspension bridge, but became even crazier one by one. They jumped deep towards us, but fell heavily into the abyss due to the distance. Even so, they are jumping to the other side like crazy. Mr. Ma, what is going on with this worship of all spirits? Mr. Ma looked into the abyss with a serious expression and said, if a great demon is born somewhere, creatures from thousands of miles around will come to worship. Moreover, no matter what situation they encounter, they will arrive in front of the great demon and bow to it. Promise yourself. Don't watch these beasts fall off the cliff. As long as they still have breath, they will climb up and move on. As soon as Mr. Ma finished speaking, I saw a little squirrel climbing up the cliff wall at my feet. The squirrel was covered in blood and half of its head was knocked off. Even so, it was still climbing. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanbao. Chapter 512. We don't have much time left, we must find the dragon. Mr. Ma said to me. I nodded and continued deeper into the cave without stopping here. We quickened our pace and walked in the tunnel for about 5 minutes before we came to an empty place. Here, stalactites appear like mushrooms on the top and around the cave. In addition, there are streams flowing through the forest of stalactites. At first glance, it looks like a fairyland. However, when you look carefully, you will find that the stalactites are filled with the carcasses of various animals. It cannot be said that they are the carcasses of various animals, but only 5 kinds of animals. Weasels, snakes, hedgehogs, foxes and mice. I stepped forward to take a closer look and found that these animals had died not long ago and their bodies were still hot. Mr. Ma and I walked carefully among the carcasses of these animals. When we walked out of the stalactite forest, the scene in front of me made my pupils tremble violently. I saw a huge black coffin in front of me. The true bodies of the 5 great immortal families are not carved on the coffin. 5 Immortals Demon Coffin. Mr. Ma couldn't help but exclaimed. I asked a little confused, what is the 5 Immortals Demon Coffin? Mr. Ma explained, in ancient times, the number of monsters has reached an unimaginable number. According to legend, there was an expert who built the 5 Immortals Demon Coffin with the essence of the 5 great immortal families, and then locked up all the monsters in the world. This has changed the current situation where monsters are rampant. I was slightly startled. Suddenly I thought of what Xiaolong said before. There are thousands of demons imprisoned in the sky coffin. Could it be that the 5 Immortals Demon Coffin in front of me is the door to the world of the sky coffin? In addition, there are 5 huge animal statues around the coffin. The 5 animal statues are also weasels, snakes, hedgehogs, foxes and mice. Mr. Ma took a breath when he saw this scene. This is actually the current helmsman of the 5 great immortal families. Current boss. Aren't they statues? When I stepped forward to take a look, I was stunned on the spot. This is not a statue, but a real animal. Their movements stagnated and they squatted neatly around the black coffin, but the expressions in their eyes were extremely frightened. In their eyes, I saw fear, confusion, and shock. It's as if they didn't expect to die here. It seems that the dragon not only wants to get the power of the Lu family, he also wants to get the power of the other 4 immortal families. Xiaolong deceived the other 4 immortals. Let them do things for themselves and then sacrifice them when it counts. The things that came out of the coffin today were indeed not good things. One is more vicious than the other. But Mr. Ma came to the 7-tailed demon fox and watched it carefully. But it seems that these immortals were not drained of their demon power, but were sacrificed. As soon as Mr. Ma finished speaking, the entire cave began to tremble violently. Mr. Ma and I were slightly startled, and instantly became alert. The lid of the black coffin in front of me began to churn, as if something was about to come out of it. As expected, stream after stream of scarlet blood emerged from under the coffin lid of the 5 Immortals Demon Coffin. Lu Hangxuan's voice rang in my ears. I felt the dragon's breath in that coffin, and he was inside. I told Mr. Ma about the dragon inside. After hearing this, Mr. Ma suggested that he should check it out. Just as he and I were taking steps, a voice suddenly came from behind us. Don't come near. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 513. I looked back, my face lit up, and I shouted excitedly, Master. The visitor was none other than Su Tianxian. Su Tianxian came in front of me, and his expression became a little serious when he looked at the 5 Immortals Demon Coffin. She turned her head, looked at me, and said, It seems that the dragon has entered the sky coffin. I'm afraid he has been reborn now. I originally planned to kill him before he was reborn, but it seems that I can't do it now. It's exactly what I guessed. The third world of the sky coffin holds thousands of demons. His purpose should be the same as the two-faced Buddha. The dragon wants to release all the demons in the sky coffin and let them come to the world again. If the dragon's goal is achieved, the consequences will be disastrous. At that time, people will definitely be devastated. But now there is only one way, and that is to enter the sky coffin and stop the dragon. Then Master, how should I enter the sky coffin? Currently, I am the only one who can enter the sky coffin. As for whether other people can enter, I don't know. Su Tianxian looked at the 5 Immortals Demon Coffin and pondered for a moment, then said, If you want to enter the sky coffin, you must attack the 5 Immortals demon coffin, but the 5 Immortals demon coffin is extremely evil. If you go in, I'm afraid. I waved my hand towards Su Tianqian and said, Master, there is no other way now. Whether it is for me or for the sake of the world, I have to go in. Su Tianqian looked at me, her eyes full of surprise. She lowered her eyes and murmured in a low voice, You have really grown up. I was slightly startled when I heard this sentence. Have I grown up? Perhaps invisibly, my character has changed, and I am no longer the young boy who only relies on others. Su Tianqian raised his head and looked at me quietly, his beautiful eyes full of strange emotions. I can't read the emotions in Su Tianxian's eyes. In my impression, ever since I met Su Tianqian, the most common look in her eyes was one of indifference. No matter who or what it is, he will not show too much emotional fluctuations. And now, Su Tianqian looks at me like this. In that case, then you should act according to your own wishes. As a teacher, all I can do is protect you from behind. I nodded. Su Tianqian came to the coffin of the 5 Immortals, slowly raised her green jade fingers, and then pointed at the coffin. A beam of golden light emerged from Su Tianxian's fingertips, and then slowly covered the 5 Immortals demon coffin. Under the shroud of golden light, the churning blood in the coffin stopped abruptly, and the shaking coffin also returned to calm. Mr. Ma stepped forward to help Su Tianqian open the coffin lid. I quickly moved forward, looked into the coffin, and instantly broke into a cold sweat. The inner wall of the 5 Immortals demon coffin is not made of stone, but is made of the skins of 5 kinds of animals. The bottom of the coffin was covered with white fox, weasel, and rat skins. The right side of the interior of the coffin is made of forest white snake skin, and the left side is made of sharp white spikes. Su Tianqian looked at me and said, Lie in. I can't help you with anything after you get in. You can only rely on yourself for everything. I nodded, avoided the sharp thorns on the hedgehogs, and lay down in the 5 Immortals demon coffin. But after lying down, I immediately realized a problem, that is, why can the 5 Immortals demon coffin lead to the world in the sky coffin? Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 514. Reminiscent of the previous 2 times when he entered the coffin. Except for the double-faced Buddha, which was entered directly, the first time was also through the soul-suppressing soul coffin. Is it possible that if you want to enter the sky coffin, you must borrow a special coffin? At this moment, Su Tianxian's head poked out from beside the coffin. She looked at me and opened my mouth, hesitated, and said, I'll wait here for you to come back. I nodded and replied, Master, don't worry, I will come back safely. Then we will go back to Jiyuntang together. Su Tianqian nodded slightly and looked at me with worry in his eyes. Mr. Ma slowly closed the coffin lid of the 5 Immortals demon coffin. Darkness enveloped me, and the coldness in the coffin made me shiver unconsciously. Judging from my previous experience, something terrible will happen next. So, I have to be vigilant at all times. As soon as this thought came to mind, there was a slight sound in his ears. I raised my ears and listened carefully, crunching. The sound sounded like some animal was knocking on the coffin. This sound went from being inaudible at first to becoming ubiquitous. Suddenly, I felt something crawling up my thigh. The space in the coffin was very small, and there was no way to use his fists. Reminds me of the previous scene in the soul coffin. At that time, there was also a sudden change, and Xia 11 and I were able to successfully enter the sky coffin. Therefore, if you want to enter the sky coffin, you must endure whatever happens next. Swish swish. The thing crawling up my thigh was moving up quickly. Besides the first time, I felt more things crawling up my legs. When my exposed skin came into contact with that thing, I was stunned in place. This touch, coupled with the cry just now, "This is a mouse," As soon as the thought came to my mind, I felt countless rats crawling onto my body and then covering me. The mouse's little claws kept trampling on my body, and the feeling gave me goosebumps. Fortunately, these rats did not attack me. After the rat tide, the coffin fell into a dead silence, and there was no more sound. About 10 minutes later, there was a sudden smell of urine in the air. I looked aside and held my breath quickly. This smell of urine was too familiar to me. This is what weasel urine smells like. Rats just appeared, and this time it's a weasel. Is it possible that we have to deal with hedgehogs, snakes, and foxes? Thinking of this, I felt a tremor in my heart. The smell of weasel urine can cause hallucinations. I don't know how long I can hold my breath, so I can only take one step at a time. After about a minute, I couldn't hold on any longer. I gasped for breath, and the smell of urine in the coffin had disappeared. Just when I wanted to take a long breath of relief, something cold climbed up my body. Then wrapped me tightly. At this moment I knew what that thing was without having to think about it. Snake. And there's more than one. Countless snakes climbed up my body and wrapped themselves tightly around me. Because it was too dark inside the coffin, nothing could be seen. But even so, what I've been through makes my head spin. At this moment, a snake climbed up my neck. I looked stern and threw all my worries behind. I reached out and grabbed the snake directly and threw it aside. Suddenly, I felt empty, and my whole body began to fall rapidly. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanbao. Chapter 515. At this moment, I seemed to be in an endless abyss, with no light around me, only darkness. I don't know how long the falling feeling lasted. I just heard a clang and I fell to the ground so hard that I couldn't recover for a long time. I struggled to stand up and looked around. I was now in a wilderness with a bright full moon above my head. I can be sure that the me just now did not fall from the sky. Instead, it appeared out of thin air, very close to the ground. At this time, Lu Hangxuan's voice sounded in my ears. Lu Su, something is very wrong here. It is full of powerful demonic power. You should be careful. I nodded and asked, then can you detect the specific location of the dragon? Lu Hangxuan fell into silence, and after a while she replied, yes, in the southeast direction. Without any hesitation, I walked toward the southeast. I climbed over a hill, and the scenery in front of me made me feel deep fear. Everywhere he looked, there were white bones, the skeletons were like ridges, and the skeletons were like forests. In addition, I also smelled the strong smell of blood. I looked at the woods not far away and walked towards it. When I reached the woods, fear came over me again. People's hair became like felt pieces, and their skin and flesh rotted into mud. The human tendons are wrapped around the tree, and the dried bones are as bright as silver. What flows in the stream is not pure water, but blood. The scene in front of me could not be better described than a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Lu Hangxuan took a breath of cold air. Here, this is actually the forest of 10,000 monster corpses. Forest of 10,000 monster corpses. These 4 words instantly reminded me of Shichuling in Journey to the West. Could it be that the forest of 10,000 monster corpses in front of me is Shichuling? I told Lu Hangxuan what I was thinking. After hearing this, Lu Hangxuan said, I don't know whether Shichuling exists or not, but the forest of corpses in front of me is real. I gasped. Lu Hangxuan continued to explain, there are thousands of monsters living in the forest of 10,000 monsters. They do all kinds of evil and treat human life as nothing. However, because there are so many monsters in the forest of 10,000 monsters and they are powerful, no one dares to eliminate harm for the people. Until a human named Lu Xiling appeared. According to legend, he single-handedly wiped out all the demons, and finally returned the human race to a peaceful life. But I didn't expect that Lu Xiling would seal the forest of 10,000 monster corpses here. Lu Xiling? I seem to have seen this name somewhere. But I can't remember it. But being able to slay 10,000 monsters by himself means he is an incredible character. At this time, I suddenly thought of Yunxiazi, the Taoist priest who gave me my cultivation. I asked, could this Lu Xiling be Yunxiazi? Lu Hangxuan denied it without thinking. No, the two people existed in different periods. Lu Xiling's era was older than Yunxiazi's. It seems that I guessed wrong. Yunxiazi and Lu Xiling are not the same person. I continued to ask, you must have met Yunxiazi, but don't know what he looks like. Or what kind of person he is. Lu Hangxuan replied subconsciously, what does it look like? Take a photo. She immediately realized something and quickly closed her mouth. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 516. Take a photo of what? I asked quickly. Lu Hangxuan coughed softly and said, it's nothing. I'd better tell you what kind of person Yunxiazi is. Since Lu Hangxuan didn't want to talk, I didn't continue to ask. I actually don't know much about Yunxiazi. I have only met him a few times. I just know that he is an upright person with extremely high Taoist skills. During the time when he was around, there was no evil spirit on either side of yin and yang who dared to cause trouble. It can also be said that he alone protected the peace of everyone in the world. Lu Hangxuan's two simple sentences made me admire Yunxiazi extremely. One person has protected the safety of the human race for decades. How can such a person not be admired? After a brief exchange, I continued deep into the forest of 10,000 monster corpses. As I walked, I heard the sound of two people talking not far away. I just wanted to get closer and listen to what the other person was saying, but Lu Hangxuan stopped me. Wait a minute, you will definitely be discovered by the other party if you get close like this. Then, I felt that the aura on my body was slowly weakening, and finally disappeared into nothing. Okay, I'll hide your aura, so that you won't be discovered by the other party. I thanked Lu Hangxuan and walked in the direction of the sound. I poked my head out of the bushes and looked ahead. I saw two monsters talking. These two monsters have human heads, and one of them is a wild boar. It looks ugly, with a fat head and big ears, two sharp fangs growing out of the corners of its mouth, a mane on the back of its head, and a rough body. The other is a rat spirit. Its face is covered with short black hair, its nose is short and sharp, and its eyes are small and move around slyly. The rat spirit said to the wild boar spirit, have you heard? Our demon king is back. After hearing this, the wild boar spirit looked very excited and replied, really? The rat spirit nodded, his sneaky little eyes full of excitement. Of course it's true. And the demon king also said that he would help us break the seal and let us return to the world. The wild boar spirit said, great. We have been sealed here for so long, and we can finally get out? Now we can eat meat. I don't even know how long it has been since I ate human flesh. The demon king mentioned by the two monsters is probably the dragon. These monsters, like those evil Buddhas, were imprisoned in the sky coffin. The rat spirit became even more excited when he heard what the boar spirit said. He licked his lips and said, that's right. It's been too long since we've eaten human flesh. I've even forgotten what human flesh tastes like. Listening to the conversation between these two monsters, I felt a chill in my heart. It seems that not all monsters in the world are as kind as Lu Hangxuan. At this time, Lu Hangxuan suddenly said in my ear, hide, another monster is coming. And it's very powerful. After hearing this, I quickly put my head back, leaving only one eye looking forward. This time it was a fox demon. This fox demon has a female body, but has 8 tails. It looks delicate and charming. How could it be her? Lu Hangxuan's surprised voice sounded in my ears. I asked with some confusion, "Do you know her?" Lu Hangxuan hummed, and then continued, "We knew each other, and more than just knew each other. We were quite familiar with each other probably 2,000 years ago. I was the helmsman of the Lu family, and she was from the Hu family." Then she suddenly disappeared. As for why she disappeared, has something to do with Yunxiazi. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 517. I asked, "What does it have to do with Yunxiazi?" Lu Hangxuan replied, "Although the 5 great immortal families at that time seemed to be harmonious on the surface, there were turbulence behind the scenes. There would be several immortals with cruel minds and soul-sucking souls under the 5 great immortal families. Then Yunxiazi came here and launched a siege. I originally thought she was dead, but I never expected that she would be imprisoned in the forest of 10,000 monster corpses. After hearing this, I have some questions. How did Yunxiazi open the coffin?" Lu Hangxuan was not clear about this. She told me that the most important thing now was to find Xiaolong first and stop his plan. Of course, stopping the dragon is only one of the purposes. More importantly, it is to let the evil star Mars return to my life palace. Although the evil spirit in his body was completely wiped out by Emperor Fengdu. But I can feel the evil spirit growing in my body again. It won't take long for these evil spirits to accumulate in my body. After the wild boar spirit and the mouse spirit saw the 8-tailed demon fox, they said respectfully, "Too great naughty girl." The 8-tailed demon fox nodded, and then said to the 2 monsters, "Go and call all the monsters in the 10,000 monsters corpse forest to the Demon King's palace. The Demon King will use your power to break the seal and bring us back to the world." The wild boar spirit and the mouse spirit looked happy and nodded at the 8-tailed demon fox. Then, the 2 goblins left in a hurry. The 8-tailed demon fox opened its legs and was about to leave, but as soon as it stepped out, it took back its right foot. She looked around, her nose slightly raised, as if she was looking for something. Lu Hangxuan's annoyed voice sounded in my ears. "Oops. I just used my demon power to hide your aura. She knows me and can easily detect my presence." As soon as I finished speaking, the 8-tailed demon fox set its sights on where I was hiding. "Lu Hangxuan, I didn't expect you to actually come here." I held my breath and said nothing. When the 8-tailed demon fox saw that no one agreed to her, she covered her mouth and smiled sweetly, "We haven't seen each other for more than 1,000 years, don't you want to catch up with me?" Suddenly, a strong demonic wind came and blew the coffins around me clean. In this way, I was exposed to the 8-tailed demon fox. The 8-tailed demon fox was slightly startled when he saw me, and then his expression turned vicious and vicious. "Yunxiazi, it's you." At this moment, beams of white light spread out from my body, and finally gathered in front of me. In a moment, Lu Hangxuan appeared in front of me. She looked at the 8-tailed demon fox coldly and said, "My Aliwu can't believe we haven't seen each other for more than 1,000 years. There seems to be something wrong with your eyes. He is not Yunxiazi. You have mistaken the person." My Aliwu looked at me behind Lu Hangxuan. After sizing me up for a moment, the vicious and malicious look in her eyes became more intense. "Lu Hangxuan, do you really think I'm stupid? The aura exuding from him is that of Yunxiazi. 1,000 years ago, you followed Yunxiazi around like a pug. Why is it still like this 1,000 years later? In fact, it's not surprising that I have the aura of Yunxiazi on my body. After all, I have half of Yunxiazi's cultivation in my body." Lu Hangxuan slowly narrowed her eyes and said, "You are nothing more than that. I haven't seen you for 1,000 years, but you are still so disgusting." My Aliwu's aura suddenly increased, and an unknown demonic wind instantly stirred up around her. The 8 white tails behind her grew larger in an instant, whipping up strong winds and sweeping toward me and Lu Hangxuan. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 518. Lu Hangxuan dodged easily. I looked at the huge tail of the beast coming towards me, and saw that it was inevitable to avoid it, so I could only use the 9 eyes heavenly domain to transfer myself. Boom! The huge head and tail swept across the surrounding trees. In an instant, the trees fell and smoke and dust were everywhere. Lu Hangxuan was dressed in white. She was extremely beautiful, with bright eyes and white teeth. She slowly raised her right hand, her movements were gentle and extremely gentle. I didn't want to attack you originally, but if you want to hurt him, then don't blame me. Lu Hangxuan's green-white fingers formed a seal, and powerful demonic energy spread from her body like a tide. Then, Lu Hangxuan held her hand in the air, and a bright sword appeared in her hand. Lu Hangxuan's body flashed and she fought with MaleProtagonist without any hesitation. The sound of the two fighting attracted the attention of other monsters. I saw countless black shadows coming towards us. In the blink of an eye, he was already in front of me. There are a lot of monsters, and there are even more types. As long as there are monsters that can be cultivated into spirits, they are all here. After these monsters saw a living person like me, their eyes showed bloodthirsty. They licked their lips crazily and stared at me with hot and greedy eyes. Is this the human being that the Demon King was talking about? It looks like it should be. If so, then I'm going to eat his head. These monsters rushed towards me in an instant, and my expression condensed. If I were knocked down by these monsters, I would probably not even have any bones left in the end. I used the power of my left eye and my soul-stealing blood hand. The ink-colored darkness gathered and took shape in front of my eyes, and the scarlet blood of the soul-stealing blood hand was injected into it, turning it into a vast sea of blood. The sea of blood rolled towards the monsters in front of them, drowning most of them in an instant. The monsters trapped in the ghost sea seem to be really trapped in the sea water. They keep rolling back and forth in it. At this moment, a pale ghost hand emerged from the sea of ghosts, and then 49 ghost generals slowly emerged from the sea of ghosts. A suffocating yin energy emanated from the ghost general. They raised the long knives in their hands and slashed at the monster without any hesitation. Ah! For a moment, the howl of monsters echoed between heaven and earth. The ghost sea is extremely powerful, but even so, it is impossible to stop such a large number of monsters. Helpless, I could only summon the heavenly secret. A golden blank heavenly secret ruler emerged from between my eyebrows, and with a thought, the 5 elements talisman was completed. I picked up the sword technique and pointed it at these monsters. The 5 elements talisman followed the direction pointed by my sword and attacked countless monsters. I silently recited the formula to activate the 5 elements talisman, and in an instant, vines, water, fire, rocks, and golden light burst out from the talisman. If the 5 elements talisman is activated together, it cannot be called a spell. But the 5 elements array. Within the 5 elements array, the 5 attributes of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth cooperated to deal a devastating blow to these monsters. In just one stick of incense, I temporarily controlled the demonic tide like a tidal wave. I turned around and looked at Lu Hangxuan and MaleProtagonist. The two immortals are inseparable from each other, but from my observation, Lu Hangxuan still occupies the top position. In order not to waste time, I took out the evil suppressing seal from my pocket and threw it into the air. As I silently recited the evil suppressing seal's urging method, several rays of golden light burst out from the bottom of the seal. Golden words appeared out of thin air and headed towards MaleProtagonist. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 519. The golden text flew towards the eight-tailed demon fox, and instantly enveloped the eight-tailed demon fox. The moment the golden text came into contact with the eight-tailed demon fox, the fox demon let out a heart-rending howl. Ah! The screams were sharp and harsh, as if they were about to pierce the eardrums. The evil-suppressing seal can suppress all evil spirits in the world, and those with weak moral principles may even lose their souls. The golden text on the bottom of the seal is like a soldering iron, firmly welded to the body of the eight-tailed fox demon. The eight-tailed demon fox was restrained, and I looked back at the demon tide behind me. Although the number of monsters is large, they cannot break through the bloody sea of ghosts and the five elements formation in a short period of time. It is worth mentioning that the 49 ghost generals in the bloody sea of ghosts are all extremely powerful. They held long knives in their hands, wore armor, and slashed one monster at a time. In addition, I also discovered that these 49 ghost generals were able to control the bloody sea of ghosts. Since the sea of ghosts and the five elements array can contain these monsters, then I just need to help Lu Hangsuan eliminate my Ali Wu. I squeezed my hands, and blue lightning burst out from my palms. I opened the Nine Eyes Heaven realm and disappeared instantly. When I reappeared, I was already in front of my Ali Wu. I raised my thunderbolt and struck it at my Ali Wu. My Ali Wu was suppressed by the evil suppression seal and could not resist at all. The thunder python as thick as a bucket climbed onto my Ali Wu's body. The next moment, thunder and lightning exploded and blue light flashed. I quickly distanced myself from my Ali to avoid affecting myself. The thunder and lightning dissipated, and my Ali Wu's skin cracked, revealing the scarlet flesh and blood inside. She was covered in blood, not to mention how terrifying it was. The 4 levels of Thunder Ju plus the evil suppressing seal successfully injured my Ali Wu. My Ali Wu suddenly raised her head and looked at me with a ferocious expression. Yunziazi. Thousands of years have passed. You are still killing us? Haven't we suffered a lot because of you? My Ali Wu called me Yunziazi, which actually didn't make me feel too upset. In fact, I have already had a rough guess about the relationship between me and Yunziazi. When we were at Dragon Tomb, Yunziazi said something when he gave me the soul of Mount Tai. No need to thank me just to thank yourself. In addition, he said similar words when he taught me half my life's cultivation. By this point I knew that the relationship between us was unusual. In the end, the loopholes in Lu Hangsuan's words were enough to prove my guess. I looked at my Ali Wu and said nothing. She yelled angrily, and her body began to change. A moment later, a huge demon fox with 8 tails appeared in front of me. I took a step back and took up the 9 layers of Thunder Ju again, this time with the blessing of the soul-stealing blood hand. Bloody thunder and lightning appeared out of thin air, hovering in every corner of the 9 Eyes sky. Yunziazi. I'll kill you. My Ali Wu's sharp and harsh voice sounded in the air. My face hardened, I raised my hand and pointed towards my Ali Wu. In an instant, the blood-colored thunderbolt hovering in the 9 Eyes Heaven territory struck towards my Ali Wu. The bloody thunder python as thick as a bucket flashed in the air. Bloody light instantly filled everyone's eyes. The next moment, the bloody thunder python fell from the sky like rain, instantly submerging my Ali Wu's huge fox body. At this time, Lu Hangsuan came to me and said, "We can't stay here for too long. I'm afraid there will be another big demon coming later. By then, you and I will definitely not be able to deal with it." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 520. Lu Hangsuan is right. There are countless monsters in the forest of 10,000 monster corpses, most of which were captured by Yunziazi. I hope they won't bear a grudge against me. While Lu Hangsuan and I were talking, my Ali Wu burst out with a powerful demonic energy, which directly knocked back the bloody thunder and lightning. She looked at the bloody thunder and lightning hovering in the 9-eyed sky, and shouted in horror, "What the hell is this? It can directly hurt my soul." MaleProtagonist looked at me with a look of resentment in her eyes. She raised her body and rushed towards me with a single shot. With a stern look on my face, I summoned the secret urn of heaven, and drew the white tiger talisman with my thoughts. A tiger roar resounded throughout the world, followed by a majestic white tiger that was all white and sprang out from the talisman. Baihu and MaleProtagonist struggled together. Baihu is as tall as MaleProtagonist, and his whole body exudes a faint white light. It was extremely ferocious, opening its bloody mouth and biting MaleProtagonist's neck. MaleProtagonist did not dare to show weakness, relying on her deft movement to deal with Baihu, seizing the flaw and launching an attack. At this moment, 10,000 demons broke through the shackles of the five elements formation and the sea of blood, and rushed towards me and Lu Hangxuan like a tide. I said to Lu Hangxuan, "Get into my body quickly, and let's get out of here together." Lu Hangxuan nodded and turned into a beam of white light and entered my body. I took a deep breath, looked in one direction and used the power of the Nine Eyes heavenly domain. When the demons came to me, I disappeared instantly. I stood firm and kept using the Nine Eyes heavenly domain transfer. After using it 4 times in a row, I was exhausted. Fortunately, he successfully pushed away the monsters behind him. I looked around and found myself in a forest of bones. Human bones grew everywhere like big trees. In addition, some small skeletons were scattered on the ground. Among them, there is a big tree that is particularly eye-catching. The body of the big tree is made of human spines and is 7 or 8 meters high. The branches are made of hand bones and leg bones. The most important thing is that these human bone trees also bear fruit. And this fruit is a white human head. I walked toward the southeast. I encountered many similar human bone trees along the way. Looking at the entire forest of skeletons, we don't know how many people died here. These monsters are really crazy. Just as I was moving forward carefully, I suddenly felt a crawling sensation in my neck. It's Kijumendi. The Kijumendi went up my neck and finally flew out from between my eyebrows. It is covered in colorful lights, and its transparent wings add a bit of ethereal mystery to it. Kijumendi stopped at the tip of my nose and looked at me closely with its small dark eyes. I asked tentatively, "What's the matter with you?" Kijumendi will not appear easily, and every time it appears, it will be eaten. This made me wonder if there was any poison around. The colorful butterfly nodded at me and then flew in one direction. Seeing this, I could only follow him. After all, this is an old man. If I make it unhappy, I won't get any good results. Kijumendi seemed very excited along the way, waving her small transparent wings briskly, and from time to time she went into the forest of bones to check. If you don't know its toxicity, you will really think of it as a cute little butterfly. Soon, Kijumendi took me to a cave.